think it was Nicole Arbach had tweeted a couple of days ago about ESPN and the Pac-12, and there were murmurs that ESPN had completely pulled out, and they said no. And there have been so many kind of in, kind of out things with this league and TV deals and expansion. And now just, John, 5 years from now, will there be a Pac-12 as we know it?
I don't think so. No. I mean, you lose your two big guys, UCLA, USC. We know that Washington and Oregon don't want to be there. So it's really just a matter of time. I think we'll probably hear some news on this. When did the UCLA USC news drop last year? I mean, it dropped, I remember, like right after the College World Series. So
it's been a while.
Yeah. So like, I think once this sports like calendar is done for 2022, 23, I think something will happen in late June, July. We'll hear something. I mean, and it tells you the Pac-12 hasn't signed a media deal like yet right. for their TV. I mean, so there's definitely a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But I mean, I'd say for sure that the Pac-12 will not be a thing in 2030.
John, I can already tell you, Oregon State fan 863 is in the comments immediately saying, well, the Big 12, that's how they sound in Oregon, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
The Big 12 lost Texas and Oklahoma. So you're making the case UCLA and USC leave, and the Pac-12, with the TV deal, everything considered, is starting to implode. Well, I get it. There are Pac-12 fans that say, hey, Texas and Oklahoma left the Big 12. They stayed healthy. What do you think makes this different about the two premier teams in the Pac-12 leaving as compared to what Texas and OU did in the Big 12?
Because Texas and OU are two iconic brands in sports. And I mean, they're leaving to go to a bigger market or to a bigger conference. They're going to be making like $40 million more a year. But I mean, I think what channel are Pac-12 games going to be on this new TV deal that they're talking about? I mean, they're going to be on PBS or C-SPAN? I mean, who wants the Pac-12 on their TV?
The Nintendo DSs? You think we get like a deal with Nintendo? Just like you have to buy a DS to watch Washington State play Cal this weekend?
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be some crazy thing like that, streaming thing. I think they see the writing on the wall. Brett Yormark, the guy is a sharpshooter. From everything I've heard, he's trying to wheel and deal some crazy stuff behind the scenes. So, I wouldn't be shocked if like we're in like July and we see, Oregon and Washington finally gave in and decide to join the Big 12. Like, I could totally see that happening because just like, what's the Pac-12? Do you really think adding like San Diego State and SMU, is that going to really add value to the Pac-12?
No.
I mean, yeah, no. So like, I think they join the Big 12 eventually, and they're sitting there and just kind of waiting for an invite from the Big 10 eventually, because that's where those two schools want to be. Is in the Big 10, Oregon and Washington.
And basketball success cannot carry you. There'll be people that say, San Diego State's great at basketball. Right. You've got to have a powerful brand in football, like the 4 teams added to the Big 12 do, to have sustainability, especially marketability in college athletics. At SMU, you may think it brings you the Dallas market. It doesn't. No. It doesn't. It brings you SMU fans that are few and far between. Yeah. The one crazy thing, though, John, there's so many people who think still Oregon and Washington fans like, we're a shoe-in for the Big 10. Why do you have those two teams as better fits, or at least better odds to go to the Big 12 and the Big 10?
Well, so I don't think that the odds are leaning towards the Arizona schools, Colorado, and Utah. I just think at the end of the day, when it comes down to the money and how much money you're going to be making, I think that Oregon and Washington will eventually be able to make more money in the future Big 12, whereas if they stay in the Pac-12 and get some crappy media deal. But I think Colorado already wants to be back in the Big 12. Utah, I know the fans don't want to be in the Big 12, but because of BYU, they think that they're better than BYU, so they don't want to be in the conference with BYU. But I think that they would be a good fit. Obviously, the Arizona schools. I just think that there's no way the Pac-12 is going to survive this. And if they do, they're going to be worse off just because, they're going to be like a second tier below the Power 5, I think, after this whole shakeup.
Yeah. Now, John, the Colorado situation too is one that has gotten sticky for me. I was of the thought 2 weeks ago, like, oh, great. I really want Colorado to be in the Big 12. Their chancellor comes out and says, hey, we're staying in the Pac-12. We're good. We're here. And within 48 hours, the entire football team enters the transfer portal, and the spring game is a debacle. It felt like as good as Colorado looked as a selling point for the Pac-12 to say, look what we've got. Yeah, our branding's going to be better. Our marketing's better. And then that entire deal came crashing down with the last 2 weeks, Colorado really looking like a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Do you see Colorado devaluing itself day by day? Because it's what it looks like with everything taking place right now.
Yeah. I mean, let's look at Colorado. I mean, over the last 20 years, I mean, they were good in the 90s at football, have had some success in basketball. They don't have a baseball team. So there has not been a lot of success. I mean, I think the move to the Pac-12 was horrible for Colorado, but I do still think they're a big enough brand to where they're still attractive to join for a conference. Cause then you get if you get the Colorado, you get the Denver market. And they have a pretty passionate fan base. They've just been so bad over the last decade that I mean, it's hard for them to get excited about something. But I mean, over the since Dion has been hired, I have seen more Colorado fans come out of the woodwork than I have in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So I think the brand is still there for Colorado. Now the transfer portal thing with Colorado, I mean, that was just a nightmare. And the way that Dion's doing this, we'll see if it pays off. I personally don't. I think it was too aggressive and just cutting kids. I mean, I think that team will struggle to win 4 or 5 games next year. I just don't think they have the depth in the trenches. But to answer your question, I think Colorado is still an attractive brand to add to a major conference.
I could see them being one of the first 4. If not, I think Oregon and Washington are spearheading this. Once they jump ship from the Pac-12, then you're going to see the other schools, the 4 corner schools, basically do the exact same thing. I posed it like this: Colorado is in a lifeboat, and they are clinging to the Titanic. The Pac-12 is just steadily sinking. And then Colorado, in the last 2 weeks, took the flare gun, and instead of shooting it in the air, they just right through the bottom of the lifeboat. Like, we're going down with this thing, baby. And they're not one of the schools that has to do that. Oregon State, you should cling to the Pac-12 because nobody's shopping Oregon State. Nobody's shopping Washington State. And you can make that case for a couple other of these schools. I mean, even to this point, and a lot of this is football recency, schools like Stanford, they're great at everything that isn't a revenue sport.
Right.
That's the issue. The brand is there. They're the Vanderbilt of the West Coast, but they're so bad at the sports that matter, and that's a serious problem.